Hi,
Thanks for joining. How are you?
good. How are you?
Good as well. Thank you so much. Um, so yeah, just doing a quick sound check. Can you hear me properly?
I can.
Okay,
I
perfect.
can hear you loud. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Okay, for the uninitiated, which I don't think there'll be many at all, Yuki Bhambri was the world number 83 in 2000. He was the ITF Junior World number one in 2009 and the Australian Open as well, and plays Davis Cup for India. Yuki, we've got a bunch of questions that we've all compiled here at Indian Tennis Daily, and with also some inputs from Steve, very nice inputs. So let's get started. Uh, yeah, everyone should know, we are dealing with.
I think I lost you.
Oh,
I only
okay.
can hear you
You can hear
better
me
now.
properly. Okay,
Yeah, I don't know if
so
it's my connection or your connection. Yeah.
I'm not sure. The thing that everyone's been dying to know, how is your knee doing right now?
It is. It is better. Not. Not at 100%, but yeah, definitely made progress from what it was or what it's been over a year ago, a year and a half ago. So I'm back on court. I'm hitting balls. I'm trying to get back in shape, but yeah, I'm still a long way off to go and play matches.
Okay. Are you able to play any practice sets right now?
I haven't tried so because there hasn't been any reason to. It's not
Okay.
like we've yeah that we're going. I'm going to get back on court uh, pretty soon with the tournament, so that's my reason to. But I'm probably still going to be taking it slow and trying to recover. I don't think there's going to be much tennis for me this year. It's probably going to be 2021.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Um, And just talking a little bit more about the injury, uh, we know that tennis is like a very, very demanding sport, like on the body, like physically in general. And we've seen that you had some injuries over the course of your career. What do you do to make sure, or try to make sure, because no one can be sure, to make sure that you don't injure the same part of your body again? Is there something that you change with respect to your training or like your physio routines or something?
I feel you focus a bit more on that aspect of or on that body part a bit more. You're a bit more aware, and I think it's just to try and not get injured again. You sort of continue with your rehab, or you're always adding a little bit of few more exercises. Say for when I had my tennis elbow in 2016, I still, even though I feel okay and I don't have any issues, I would still try and make sure that my elbow is good. I'll still do exercises for that, for my forearm, for my shoulder. Same with my knee. So same with my any other body part. I think what one just tends to do is a person's a bit more aware about the injury, and so just continues to do its rehab to make sure that you don't hurt it again. So that's
Yeah,
something that I have done, and with that aspect, I think I've fortunately been pretty good.
yeah, yeah. Like Steve was mentioning that you've never injured same body part again, so which is obviously nice.
Yeah, you shouldn't try and jinx me, but yeah.
No, no, no. We all want you to never get injured again. And also like when you come back from an injury and you're playing, like does it in some part play at the back of your mind just to be a little bit more careful when you're moving in a certain way or hitting a shot in a certain way or something?
No, it's not something that you can avoid. It's not as if I can just suddenly stop running on a tennis court, or make sure of not running for this ball and not doing that. I think in tennis it's all very dynamic and you have no control once you're there. I think that's why you have the time off, or you take the time off to really come back stronger and better, so that you're not thinking that during a match. So because there is no stopping once you're out there, it doesn't. I don't think it plays on any athlete's mind, frankly, once you're in a match, and rightly so.
Yeah, yeah, correct. And like coming to your training nowadays, I think the lockdown in India like recently ended, and most people have been able to get back to court in some capacity or the other. So, are you like still how are you keeping in touch with all of your coaches, like either with team tennis with Mr. Aditya Sachdev or with Steve in Thailand? Do you interact with them every day? Do you like send them videos of yours? How do you keep in touch?
A couple of times a week. Absolutely, it's. I think Delhi has still been hard, even though I think lockdown has somewhat lifted. We're still not able to really practice freely where I play. It's only members only, and you're still worried about the virus. So I haven't obviously been seeing my coaches or really been playing with a whole lot of people. I'm fortunate that I have Pratik, who's my cousin, who's pretty good in hitting the ball, and frankly surprised me with his coaching skills as well. So he's been doing a pretty good job. But yeah, I'm absolutely in touch with Steve, in touch with Itisa Dev as well, with both of them, running, going through things of what I could work on, what I need to do. So I mean, yeah, I've had a good combination of all three, with I think Pratik being and helping a lot on the court, and obviously Steve and Adi sir helping out.
Yeah, we've been seeing yours and Pratik's social media posts, and Pratik also says that you coach him on table tennis in the evenings after tennis.
Yeah, he's been a bit more free now that he's not really doing a whole lot. So he's been joining us with a little bit of table tennis sessions. So yeah, I've been trying to improve him there, and he's been trying to work on my tennis.
Are you trying to go pro in table tennis soon as well? Or?
No, we'll stick to tennis for now.
Okay. Now talking a bit about like career perspective, maybe looking back and also looking forward. Is there something that you think you should have or might have done differently when you were a junior?
I think looking back, it's very, or at least at that point of time, it's very hard, especially with the amount of success that I had. When you won a Grand Slam at 16, you've been world number one. You're not really going to try and change a whole lot of things because you're having success. B, you're moving up the ladder. You sort of achieved whatever you had to out there on the junior circuit. Going to the professional circuit, I think, or I felt that I've tried to do as much as I could to try and cope. I think with the physicality, that's what I felt was the difference when I was getting up there, playing some of the challenger events, playing some of the future, starting out. That's what I felt the difference was as a 16, 17-year-old trying to compete with the men's. And I think tennis has only gotten harder. So that's something that I think I've always sort of gradually always looked towards and working on. I haven't felt that tennis has been that much of a hindrance for me where it has been to try to, I think, cope physically because tennis is such a sport. But, looking back, I don't think I could change a whole lot from what I achieved or where I was.
Yeah. And like you were talking about physicality just right now. We've seen that like lots of players from India, be it Prajnesh, like he had knee injuries for a very long time. Somit had trouble with the shoulder. Pranjala had, I think, troubles with her lower back a little bit. You had trouble with your knees and your elbow sometimes. Do you think there's some sort of a systematic, let's say, improvement that we need with our coaching system when kids are young so that the injuries happen lesser and lesser?
I would say it's better now. There's a bit more awareness now. I see a lot of parents, I see a lot of coaches really focusing on the physical aspect. I don't think we had that at least 10, 15 years from now. I think there's a little bit more individualized sessions as well, which, we didn't have access to or didn't have. It was always group sessions, what everyone else was doing, a lot of the basic stuff. So I think kids nowadays growing up are aware. I think there's so much more information out there on YouTube, on Instagram. There are, world-class trainers and coaches posting different physical videos that, even though you probably shouldn't outright copy, but it gives you a general idea of what a top player is really working on. So you can have some sort of an idea going from there. So I think they're better now. But I mean, having said that, it's not just Indians. You look at any tennis player, everyone's gone through their fair share of injuries. So it's a sport that requires or demands a lot more from your body. So it's just there are such a few of us who have really made it that far, that it's easy to sort of pinpoint and say, okay, a Prajnesh has been injured, or a Sumit has been injured, or a Pranjala has been injured. But when you look at the bulk of players, I think it's how they've come back and how they performed, and everyone at the moment is doing pretty well or is getting back there. So at some point every tennis player has had some sort of an injury, but they're all bouncing back, and that's what a positive everyone should look at.
Yeah, correct. Talking about bouncing back, whenever you had an injury, you bounce back like really strongly. You maybe have fallen down to like the mid 500s of the ATP rankings, and then within 1 year you're within like top 120 or even top 100. And going back to I think 20, you played Tomasz Berdych and also Andy Murray at the Australian Open. And you particularly played really well against Andy Murray. He in his press conference he had like really he had a lot of praise for you. He said that you especially moved the ball around really well, and I believe you were also up I think 4-1 in the third set. So what do you take or what do you learn from matches like at such a big stage and like playing against top 5, top 10 players? Like what's your take?
For me, it was a great learning experience playing Andy. There's a whole lot that took on court which I implemented in my own game. I think that was also the year when I broke into top 100. I don't think it was for the first time, and it wasn't a coincidence. I mean, from that match, there were various tactics that he had used that I hadn't seen a whole lot on the tour before. That I had learned simple things of where to return from, of how he played the important points. So there are things that I managed to pick on. So there's a lot of that's one of the matches that always stands out for me, is because how much I was able to really learn from an opponent, how he played me, and how he conducted himself, or how he played the important points. So that was something that that I really learned from playing Andy. I think he was just kind enough to say nice things. But when I went into a match, I was on a Zoom call with some of the other kids from the academy in Delhi, and I was telling them, someone asked a question, and I remember when I went out there, I had my trainer at Point of Nasir at that time, and we joked, and I said I obviously hadn't played a top 3, top 4 player before that, so I didn't really know. It was first Grand Slam, didn't know what to expect going in there. So we joked about saying that I hope I didn't lose. Love, and love, and it was important for me to get one game in each set. So when I got the first game, I smiled in the first set. When I got the first game in the second set, I smiled in the third game. We were sort of sharing a moment there. So it was at that point of time. Initially, it was just try and get one game and then see where it goes.
Yep. And talking about more of these matches, now let's go to a slightly harder topic. What can you tell us about the best match that you've played and you still lost?
I don't think I could say there's a match that I've played, that a best match I've played or lost. I feel at different opponents or at different levels, I would have probably been playing well, and I guess let the match slip through. But if I had to really pull out some of the matches, I think Sam Querrey at Indian Wells was one where I felt I had a good chance of winning that one. Kevin Anderson at DC, another, I think, 3 sets. And I guess Denis Shapovalov at Davis Cup to come back from 2 sets to love and to equal all to all. And it's anyone's game in the 5th set. So I would say that there was some of these matches where I was playing well and I had a shot or an opportunity to maybe try and win the match or close out the match, where I didn't get through. But I mean, those are sort of the matches that stand out.
Okay. And what is the most important point, if you can point out one that you won throughout your career?
The most important point?
Yeah.
I couldn't pick an important point, but I think various stages of my career, I guess important matches. I could have, going back all the way to my junior career, I probably feel I should have lost first round of the Australian Open the year that I won. I was, I think, match points down the first round itself to to go out. So that was, I guess, that changed a whole lot of things for me there. That's where I guess my career took off. So if I have to say, that one point was very crucial in getting my junior career started.
Okay, okay. And also, I should have probably asked you this earlier. Do you think your game style has changed a lot since when you were junior? Like, obviously, physicality has gone up a lot, but style of game, has that changed a lot since you came onto the sport?
I feel I've adapted. I way before breaking on to the junior circuit, I think things have changed on from there. I was I would say I was more of a counter puncher, but because I think I didn't have the strength to really, I guess, hit through the court that much. So for me, it was really about just trying to keep balls in the court, waiting for an opponent to miss. But gradually, I think gaining that strength and also realizing that I think that game style didn't really suit me, and I wasn't going to get me really that far in my career. I think I did progress to being a bit more of an attacking, I guess, all-round court player. But I think, yeah, at various stages, I've always just tried to keep on improving and keep learning and adding bits and pieces as I've learned on what to improve and how to go about it.
Okay. Um, you, and so now that you've been a pro for quite a while, uh, and most professional players have like near perfect technique. Do you still like you obviously get coached by Steve and Addy sir and everyone, but do you still like go onto YouTube and maybe look at random videos now and then and try to like see what the Gen Z kids are doing with their
I think that's the beauty of a sport, that everyone really has a different style. You could see a Del Potro having a really big backswing on his forehand, but really generating so much more power on his shots. So, having one of the best forehands. Nadal doesn't have the perfect technique, but I mean, again, look at that forehand. So everyone's different. Um, it's just, I guess, like I said, the beauty of a sport is that you don't really have to be. It's good to be obviously technically sound, but it doesn't have to be spot on that this is the way to go about it, or that's the way to go about it. There's not one way to how to hit a tennis ball, as long as you can make the ball and hit the ball in the tennis court. So I think, yeah, over the years you see different game styles, different styles of how players are coming up.
I think I saw Ramkumar Ramanathan here as well. So hi Ram. Uh, and one question which Steve asked me, which I think is asked me to ask, which I think is a nice question amongst others. Lots of Indian kids and also throughout the world, like they have a dream of going pro, and everyone tries to start off early, maybe 7 or 8 years of age. Do you think there are some certain checkpoints that you need to have at maybe like 12 years of age, 16 years of age, 20 years of age to kind of know whether you're going to make it and then decide whether to like give your life completely towards tennis or not, just so that you have a good idea beforehand?
I think kids do know. I think they are aware, especially after a certain age. I'm sure they're aware, where their game is and where their level's at. Different, but again, different players are different levels, have different motivation. It's not always about, I guess, a 22, 23-year-old who's maybe trying to break into the qualifyings or playing the future. It's not always about winning a Grand Slam or playing a Grand Slam or being in top 100. For some also, it's it's what they enjoy, and it's their passion to be able to play tennis for a living, or to be able to follow their dream. I think it's up to, I think, each individual. Tennis is a sport where you're not taking anyone else's spot like cricket. You're not stopping anyone. You could be 35 years old, and if wanting to play singles or starting your career, you could do that. You could be a 16-year-old upcoming player and want to break pro. I think it's it's good to have those checkpoints or levels to see where you're at. That's why the tournaments are, to judge what your level of play is. But I mean, if someone wants to follow their dream, who is anyone else to tell them what to do?
Right, right. And like talking more about junior tennis, funding is a big issue. Like especially in India, I don't think there's one player who has not had problems with funding. Uh, I think all of us are in general curious, like, what is your like sponsorship situation right now? Like, who all are helping you? Where are you getting help from?
I think tennis, unfortunately, is not a sport that, or at least Indian tennis, where the corporates are really kick in. It's even though we play at a global scale, but everyone sort of looks at a Federer or a Nadal or a Dominic Thiem performing at the highest level. It's a global sport, and it's very, very difficult for, I guess, an Indian to really sort of break through. For us, for a lot of us, I think the sort of barrier really is, let's try and get to the hundreds, and then let's try and push towards the 70s or 50s, whereas not to, dreaming of maybe winning a few rounds in a Grand Slams or making the second week of Slams, whereas for someone else, a European is probably trying to win a Grand Slam. So I think that's where um, is, I guess, an average Indian or corporate who probably doesn't understand the nuisances of a sport like tennis would probably see, and that's why I think it's very difficult to have the corporates in tennis. But having said that, I think it's better than what it was. There's still a lot of foundations that are coming in and supporting the sport and supporting some of the players. For me personally, it's been great with ONGC, with and with Babolat that I've been with for the last, I think, 12 or 13 years, for my rackets and with my clothing deal as well. So that's what I am with and attached with them.
That's good. That Pavlov is supporting you as well. Um, some more questions about so talking about junior support. So let's take the example of maybe like Sean Chung. You guys train at Impact, I think in 2017, the off season, and immediately like 1 month or 2 months later, Sean Chung makes it to the semifinals of the Australian Open. And also see the thing that you were like completely crushing it in the off season there that time. So by virtue by virtue of feeding on each other's confidence, does that give you more of a belief that a Grand Slam semi-final is not far away at all? All it takes is one or two good weeks, and you might be in anytime.
Absolutely. I think it blew us all away, and we are all very happy for Chung when he made the semis. We are all on our groups congratulating him, and it was a really good couple of weeks. I think it was 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks that we all trained together to have most of the top players there. And again, like I said, I think for me, it's always I've always believed that I've always had the game to really match up to the best players in the world. For different players, it's different criteria. For me, really, it's always been about just trying to maximize my tennis and about playing as many tournaments, as many matches as I can. That for me has been the key. But it does give you the belief, and even at that point of time, I think it gave us. I'm pretty sure not just me, but a lot of the players who were at that camp, the belief to try and go further, because we were all trained together. We all saw, each other every day. We all knew how well each other played, and then to see someone you closely work with to do that well, I think it gives you the confidence as well and it gives, to go ahead and push that further.
Yeah, so hopefully 2021 Australian Open semi-final final. We'll see. Okay. I'm trying to see if there are any comments which have questions. Everyone thinks your beard is very nice.
Vishnu asking the gyms are open in Delhi. No, Vishnu, no gyms in Delhi. Got to work out from home. Only the tennis courts are open.
I think Purav somewhere said that you're the best cricketer not in the Indian team.
If it wasn't going to be tennis, it would have been I would have definitely played cricket. If I had to blame, I blame my sisters for that, because I would have played my cricket if I hadn't followed them into the sport. But I think it's worked out fine.
Talking of cricket and even other sports. Do you have good friends from other sports? Like obviously tennis, you travel with everyone. So, but from other sports, do you have any friends who are like athletes?
I have a few from the cricket circle. A few of them because we shared the same trainer. That's how I've met a few of them. A lot of fast bowlers, and a lot of them read the comments on Purav show about challenging.
Oh,
But some of the guys challenging them to a run or or whatever, yeah, a sprint or something in the gym. And a lot of fast bowlers really want to take up on that because I think the new generation, next generation are really focusing on fitness now and are doing well. So they wanted me to mention that, saying that if I had come across again on a tennis platform, that they would be open to taking up the challenge.
are you open to taking up the challenge?
I wouldn't be beating Somdev in an 800-meter a sprint. Maybe the rest of the crew right now, but I don't think. Yeah, I think Somdev's always been one of the fastest.
Yeah, Somdev was definitely a mean beast. I'm sure he is still. Um, so I think yeah, we've got just a few minutes left. Let me try to ask you some fun questions. Is there something that's really bizarre that's happened with you on the tour, you've not, which people don't know publicly?
It's not bizarre. I've done bizarre things. For some reason, I have a knack of, instead of picking my own bag up, picking other people's bags up. This happened twice. This happened to me in Australia. This happened to me at Wimbledon. And Wimbledon was a lot more scarier and worse because I was stepping on court for a match.
Yeah.
I was warming up in the gym, and I think because a lot of us have similar bags, especially the slams, they give us a certain kind of bag that everyone has to. And I picked up another player's bag, reached on the court, and realized these are not my rackets. Um, uh, you know,
How it was?
I first had Steve to try and run back and switch the bags, but I saw him. He was very, very slow, so I took so I had to run back and try and exchange a bag. And thankfully, the girl whose bag I by mistake picked up was walking out for practice, and she had realized that we had switched bags, so I didn't have to go very far away. And this happened in Australia as well. I picked up somebody else's bag by mistake and had to go back to switch it. So this is something very bizarre. Even though we tie our tags and everything, but strangely enough, yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Vishnu Vardhan's asking you like do you want to play doubles together on the Challenger tour?
Absolutely, Vishnu. 100% when we're back. We'll start with my ONGC teammate.
Okay. Then the next question which I had was, this is more for maybe, I don't know, junior players or any recreational tennis player. What's the best technical tip you've received or you can give us?
Mr. Bolletry telling me to shorten my backswings. I had really, really big backswings, so that was something that he made me aware of, and that's something that I worked with, which I think definitely helped me a lot. Because having really, really big backswings isn't going to, on both sides of flanks, isn't going to help you much.
Right, right. The next one, who's your best friend on the ATP tour or on the WTA tour outside of India and within?
I think I'm friendly with most of the Indian guys. Most of them you see on the tour. I think someone who would interact more so among the Indians are probably David Sharan, being practicing together, being in the same town, and Saket Mineni. I think is somebody that I'm fairly in touch with. Michael Venus from New Zealand is. I think we get along well, having played doubles quite a few times.
Um, okay, I have another fun. For me, it's a fun question, but I think it's also something that might give the viewers who are not playing on the tour a good idea about what life is like with respect to expenses. So let's say you make the ADP website says that you make $10 as prize money. How much of that do you how much of that do you get after taxes, and how much of that is spent on coaching, traveling, tennis-related expenses, stringing, equipment, all those things?
Well, it depends on what country you're in. If you play the US Open, you're paying 35% tax in New York. So ATP usually just publishes what the prize money that is. Then they don't also publish the currency. You could be playing in Australia and it would be Australian dollars, which is say not as strong as euros or American dollars. It would just be dollars there. You could be playing again, vice versa. You could be playing at Wimbledon and it would be pounds, but they would probably just still mention. I think that's what ends up happening. I don't think I've paid that much attention to what they mentioned, but I feel that that's the criteria. And when it comes to expenses, again, it varies. Different coaches, different fees, different trainers. It depends on how big your support staff is. We heard someone like Djokovic, sort of, I guess, complaining of trying to having only one, having only one member of his team present there, where he's not able to choose whether he would want a coach or a physio or a trainer. I think that's an eye opener for a whole lot of people out there to understand what it really requires to keep those top players fit, and why they are there at that point is because they have a whole team really looking after them to make sure that they're healthy and they're ready to play the next match. Whereas most of the players on the tour, I would say 80 or 90% of them would probably maybe be traveling with a coach or maybe be traveling with a trainer. Very, very rarely, unless you're a top 10, 20, 30 player, you would see anyone traveling with a coach and a trainer, let alone a physiotherapist. But that is what, it's a catch-22 situation. Of course, it requires a whole lot of money, a whole lot of capital to spend on that, but you also do need that to reach at that level.
Yeah, which will pay back in itself. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't stop you too much more. Just last two questions. So since you brought up Djokovic, what do you feel about the US Open being held this year with so many restrictions? Like, what's your take on it? Lots of players have said things, but yeah, what's your take on it?
Majority of them, I don't think accept it. As tennis players, I think every tennis player will go out there to play a tournament, because most of them aren't obviously playing at the moment, and everyone wants to get back. That's their livelihood. Everyone understands that. Sometimes I think that's the advantage that us tennis players are taken off, because they know that we're going to show up if it's a US Open, if it's a French Open. I personally feel if they have the capacity to host a full US Open, or they're hosting a main draw, then there's no reason for them not to at least have the qualifiers, mixed doubles, and wheelchair tennis for that matter. They've left out a really big part of the sport that a lot of people follow. So yeah, I think that bit has been a disappointment.
Yeah. I saw that wheelchair tennis has been left out, and yeah, lots of people responded. Yeah, thanks for bringing. Okay, last question before we let you go. What can we expect from Yuki Bhambri in 2021 when you make your comeback?
Hopefully, back to playing good tennis, back to performing at a good level, and making some noise in the Grand Slams again.
Yep. Even
Awesome.
you crush the tour in 2021 and for many more years. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye.